Yo, Gabane. Yeah, I don't think there's anything bad in here. I'm just gonna read it on stream so I can avoid typing. If that makes sense. Um, so Gabane watched my video reacting to his reaction, and so I'm gonna react to his responses or respond to his responses. Um, Here. So Gabane said, he's this is just about us. He said the thing he disagreed with the most is Don Banner being easy to proc. Which I can concede that point because, like, I hate those blue stripe commandos, the 4 for 4s, because when I was playing against Foltest Gang, when people bring Renfri's Gang with Foltest, um, I always felt like, okay, I can answer Foltest, but they still do their bullshit. Like there was no way for me to stop it, right? And it was annoying, but Renfri's Gang didn't require a leader charge or zeal or whatever, and also a 6 power, and it is a 4 for 4. But although with Don Banner, it becomes like an 8 for 4 technically because you boost one immediately pops out, which at this point isn't that big a deal because we have other 8 for 4s. But I just hate it when somebody can, like, because it was a deploy, right? I felt like I felt helpless, but I don't think that's really a balance or design issue. It's more like this isn't fun to play against for me, but that may not be other people. Because chat was also saying they don't think Dun Banners is much of a problem. Spores is indeed harder to proc. Archaspore, yeah. Yeah, I almost think Archaspore could go to 5. I'm not sure, but like, considering that you have to play a 4 for 4, to me, you consider the 3 of them together. So you have to play 2, a 5 for 4, and a 4 for 4, and you get another 4. So it's really like playing a 7 and a 6 for 4, which would be balanced, and then you get one thinning, and that's the thinning is like compensation for the fact that you're playing a brick, and also you're using that turn not to answer your opponent or establish engines. You're just using that turn to thin, which is the same for every faction, right? Like if except for maybe Skellige, right? Because when they discard something, they do damage with Coral or set up a compass. I guess you could argue Nilfgaard Hyperthin gets a payoff too, but generally speaking, like when you're playing a sewer raider, you're not advancing your agenda. You're investing in the future. To me, 8 is too many points for that invest. Like you're already getting the investment. You shouldn't get 8. You should get like 6. You know, that's where like maybe 6.5. I don't know, right? There's real cost to putting those in decks full of bricks, unlike most other tutors. I agree with all this. I just don't think that like the fact that Madame is so predominant and happens to work really well into the Vice game plan is a reason to have cards that are above the curve. Like 2 wrongs don't make a right. And I think your stance would be, well, when Madame gets fixed, we can come back to this. And my point is, we shouldn't be creating problems with the Balance Council. There's a million things that are bad in the game. We should always be advancing forward, and we shouldn't be making temporary changes. Like some people said, oh, make Compass 9p. If it's, we'll just change it back. It'll be fun for a month. For 2 weeks, I think it was fine, but for a month, it's too long. And that's like 2 months we just lost. Probably it's similar to why you're against reverts. Yeah, Spores, I think 5 is okay. No, 6 would be too much because it becomes 2-point slammy, and it's like also a buff to V, which I hate. To make actual occasion, I think that is one such example. It's not realistic to reach a perfect balance. Yeah, but like, I think I don't expect the average Pepega to think about the future, but I expect Nick Art to think about the future more so than make all thinners 4P. That's not it to me. That's not thoughtful enough. I would like a little more nuance. Not all thinners are the same. Casino bouncers and sewer raiders are not the same. And also, I want people to think about provision slots. And SY has no good 5Ps. And casino bouncers 9 for 5 plus 1 thinning would be really cool. Yeah. It's not about being good or bad card. Unlike what you said about Renegade, its main purpose will always be to cheese and abuse. I mean, Renegade's main purpose is also to cheese and abuse. In the way that most players experience it. Chat, how many of you have seen Renegade played for cheesy purpose, and how many of you have seen it used to discard Viper, or like in a non-Viper spam deck, just as a way, like as a discard card, right? As a carryover, as a one-off. How many of you have ever seen Renegade? It's too expensive for non-cheese. Okay, so how do we, if we buff it, how do we prevent the cheese? Can we also make Practitioner 6 provisions? But then that ruins Practitioner as the one-up. Like, there are decks where Puzzle was playing where he would play one Practitioner because he had removals. And I think that's really clever. Like, if you're not spamming, maybe we just need to kill Iteran. Because Practitioner being in a Simulate unit that gives you a copy of a card that went to opponent's graveyard is cool. It's just the Practitioner spam plus Vilgefortz Renegade combo together is degenerate. Each of them separately are okay. Like, I also have wholesome Iteran decks. Like, I use Iteran just to make more drones. It's cool. Or make Kiki more workers. But I'm fine giving those up. If we gotta kill Iteran, let's kill Iteran. Every wholesome Sabbath deck you play, if Sabbath is strong, there will be 10 times more disgusting ways to see play. What Sabbath decks do you run into? I'm genuinely curious. Like, nobody who's playing AQ Sabbath. I never see it on ladder. Renegade Instrument is super interesting, although it can be, like, sometimes it'll be okay, sometimes it'll be giga good. But then again, that's true for maybe cards like Lydia as well. Which I also want to buff, like you. Hey, DCO. Happy New Year, man. Yeah, I'm fine with Vulgar to 12. 13 is really expensive. It's kind of an all-in. Demetrius, he has the current games on Dagon. Abuse forcing. Okay, yeah, but my problem there is Dagon. Honestly, if people want to nerf Dagon, I'm fine with it. Nerf Dagon, nerf AQ. You already nerfed Defender. You don't see me reverting that. Like, without those cards, Sabbath isn't an issue. No, it's AQ that's the problem. AQ and Earn. But even AQ, like, has counterplay. Except from Blue Coin with Earn. If you miss your Heatwave. Like, I agree it's very annoying. I just it's always a lower priority for me because I literally, like, I don't know, I probably have a 10% lose rate against Sabbath decks. I just feel like they're just easy to beat. They're not good. I just think that, like, it's a choose your own adventure how you beat a Sabbath deck. I'm happy when I run into Sabbath. So the thing I like about Sabbath, I'll explain it, is there are some decks that are combo decks, and the way that Gwent works, like, given the importance of round control and how easy it is to bleed, and like in pro rank anyway, like, you need a lot of tutors to get the combo working, and then what do you do the other round? Sabbath gives you a short round play for combo decks. I see Sabbath as a short round play. Not as a, oh, I play 4 cards round 1, force the opponent to pass. I dry pass round 2. I open Sabbath round 3, and I kick W win because I have an unbeatable combo. But I that's not a hill I'm gonna die on. I just wanted to bring that to the discussion because I felt like Sabbath to me has gotten a bit too much hate for the impact it actually has. I just want to call out that like no one gets good, like no one brings Sabbath to tournaments and does well. No one plays Sabbath at a high MMR except for like the one guy you run into, like for that one deck. And like there's always going to be that like Military player, that Sabbath player, that Kelly player, that Triple Gurney player that only plays that deck. And like, yes, you'll like, you know, you'll run into 1 out of 20 games and lose in an annoying fashion, and that can ruin your streak or mess with your ranking or placement or whatever. But there's like a million different decks made possible by that card existing that are interesting, new, and fun, and maybe not very strong, but for a lot of people that's fun. And if like 60 competitive players have to occasionally lose 1 out of 50 games to a Sabbath cheeser as a cost, I'm personally okay with that, but I can see why you wouldn't be. You remove Rohanian and Rohanian type players from the game, you fix more issues than the council. Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Like, is it fair for me to say that he's not allowed to enjoy the game the way he prefers to enjoy it? Like, it doesn't bother me personally because I think that guy loses to a bunch of stuff that counters him, and he's just one guy I'm not going to match against him again. So it's not too big an impact for me. But when I see like 50 people play ogres or precision strike, like in 2 days, I run into that deck like 20, 30 times. That's a bigger issue to me than Sabbath. Does that make sense? The gigantic problem? I think that's the part where I might disagree, but like I'd like to understand what makes it a gigantic problem. Like, how does it impact your experience in Gwent or others that are at like Gabane's MMR? If you want to chime in, please feel free. If I listen to abuse decks, I see something way down the list. They're really annoying. Okay, but so is Warriors. I find Devotion Warriors way more annoying than Sabbath. Oh, they got red coin. Every game they play a similar game plan. Every game they kill everything you play, and they prevent a lot of stuff from being playable. Either is my deck countering them or I lose. Okay, that's true. That's true. But I have decks that auto counter Warriors also. With like no, I think you didn't start. I disagree about that. No, that's not true. Can you give me a matchup example? Like, give me a matchup where you feel like you auto lose to Sabbath, and which Sabbath deck? Like Syndicate, if you don't get good cards round 1 and you're against the Dagon triple defender whatever deck, yes, you lose that. Sure. And you could run Philippa and be less susceptible to that. But, and a lot of Russian players run Philippa, unironically, in their line pockets deck, like in tournaments and everything. But I still don't think it's very good. All right, let's go over to if you lose if you miss cards. So he creates decks that are like always can always get all their cards round 1 and 2. And his strategy is, my opponents are playing polarized decks that try to extract the most value out of the provisions available to them by round 3. I'm going to shortcut that and force a 2-round game where I have a higher chance to win, right? He's like a super annoying bot. So I like ran into him like twice probably. One time I was playing Military, and I didn't realize he was playing Decoy, so I didn't kill his Radovid, and he like wrecked me because of it, right? And another time was like V or something, and I didn't have 6 tall punish. But like, what kind of made me reconsider was that Puzzle was talking about how he has no problem beating Miamon when Miamon plays Military, but against Rodian, he has trouble. He said like a lot. He's like a lot of Military players, they'll play their like Istrid and Snowdrop round 1, and you just pass at 7. Even if you lose on even, you can win that. But he doesn't do that. He doesn't like 900 games. Yeah, like I personally don't think they should be in pro rank. Like if they only play one faction. He spawns like a god too. The amount of times he hits Istrid from Military. Sounds like you all just need to nerf Rodian. Just add him to your friends list and only click Q when he's in a game. Okay. Anyway, I think we're less far apart on Sabbath than we started. Here. Here's what I'll do. Like, I thought this was a stupid nerf and was making that point, but I'll take it out. Okay, and I'll take out Dunbanner as well. What did you think about my responses on Swears? Like, I'm not saying he'll be competitive at 5 power, but Amnesty exists, and Amnesty's a tactic and has a lot of like other synergies with Nilfgaard. And this card plays for 8 points. If Swears as an 8 plays for 11 and can only yoink a 3 power unit and is a soldier so has synergy with like crossbows, is it really that bad? No. Gabane, I will die on this Coral Skirmisher hill. This is not consistency. This is like you get round control because you drew this in round 1. Fuck this card. We had this at 4. It was bad. Even CDPR saw that it was bad. I don't care that it's shit. I care that it's binary and fucking auto in round 1. If you play a deck that has to bleed pirates and they draw their coral, they get blue coin Coral Skirmisher, like you just have to go next, and that's fucking no. I hate that. I hate it when a game is decided by he drew a certain combo round 1. I mean, pirates are very polarized. A lot of the more competitive decks aren't very susceptible to control. The pirates type control. Whereas a lot of like there's a whole like bouquet of decks that just fucking lose because pirates kills everything. I'm sure you're right. That's besides the point though. Like, this is an 8 provision card, right? And on Blue Coin, this plays for 11 plus 1 thinning. For 8. Like how is that? How are you okay with that? So you guys are running it to bully round 1? Yeah. That's the thing. Like, a lot of the scenario players, like, I will lose the scenario. And I need to bleed that out. There's a lot of cheesy pirates decks, or onslaught decks rather. Or maybe they're playing Compass and I want to fuck with them. Right? Isn't the best way to fuck with Compass to win round 1 and push? Well, this prevents that. Right. Like the issue like with Coral isn't that like, oh my god, 8 for 11 and 1 thinning is the most broken thing in the game. It's way above curve, and we should not be buffing cards that were already at curve. Like, there's a million other cards that could be made better, and archetypes that need support. Like, you say you hate Point Slam, why aren't you buffing Vampires? Vampires are an interactive engine deck with counterplay on both sides. Like, they going back up because of the revert factor? Okay, well, that one we're gonna have to agree to disagree. You can wait a season and then make the change. I'm gonna make that change now. Scrims to 3 power? I would rather make Scalds 5 power so that Scalds are playable. Why? Because I want, like, a discard deck should be able to be consistent even if it misses Burna. Right now, if you play Scald, you're a piece of shit. Like, you feel like a piece of shit, right? You're just like, why the fuck did I play this 4 for 4? I'm only playing this because I missed my Burna or Coral. Abuse Flutter? What's the Abuse Flutter? Like Operator on a Flutter and then Incubus it out? Or are you saying like Necromancer's Tome, try to get 6 Flutters in round 3, 1 out of 5 games? Because that deck's not consistent. Play 285. This is how I know you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to vampires, man. Like, that's not possible, and it's super inconsistent. Like, and just dies to a bleed. Like, you might as well be complaining about Casino Lippy, which is stronger than Flutter Spam. You don't mind mama, you're not about other things? Okay. What do you think is the most problematic card in the game right now? Regis Bloodlust? It's a particularly stupid card. But from what I've seen, everybody wants to nerf it, so I'm not using my vote on it. It's gotta get nerfed anyway. I don't play it, and I don't care if it gets nerfed, and I would like it to get nerfed, but I also don't. That's not my battle to play. Melon is amazing right now. It's not, for me, it's not bad. It's not very good either. So, like, remember when everybody was trying, like, everybody other than me was nerfing Cranmer? And I said, that's not going to do anything. That's a stupid ass nerf. And then we nerfed Cranmer. We made him 6 power. And it literally did nothing to that deck because it's 1 point less on a card that plays for 20, 30 points. Location, I've heard from you, from Ronian, from others, like, fine. I mean, to me, the easy solution is to look at what changed. And what changed that made the Cranmer Simless deck like be stupid is Workshop. And like, to me, this belongs at 6 provisions. Easy. Because it's like Sangreal to me. It's just like Sangreal. It's a conditional 12 or 18. Don't you and I agree on something? Yeah. At one point I had Mac. Let me show you what, because there's like way more than. No, that's not it. Council 2. There's way more than like 3 per category that I think are interesting. And part of what I picked here was to make a statement. But when it comes to Nilfgaard, I wanted Hunting Pack to 5 power. But if Nick's gonna make it 4P, I'm not wasting a vote because he'll win anyway. So I took that out. I think Fringilla Vigo with a power buff could be interesting. Because like I always feel like I wish I had something in Nilfgaard that did like 3 or 2 or 1 damage. You know, for when you want to yoink that thing that's at 7 power. And Blightmakers can allow non-Calvite gameplay. And they create constructs. There's also the neutral constructs, which I'm not a huge fan of. But still, like Fringilla, Abduction, Cynthia, construct deck to me is at least interesting, right? Plus you can toxicologist the construct that you put in their deck if they happen, that you clog them with if they happen to play it, and then you can replay that with abduction so your abduction doesn't break. There's a lot of cool stuff there. So I like Fringilla. I still think Vigo is like never needed the +1 power. Why did it get it? It was silly. It should get reverted. But it's never made my top 3, right? And then Traherne, because fuck that card, and fuck Master of Puppets. I still think Battle Stations is a stupid card, but I decided that instead of nerfing Battle Stations, I just nerf Erendite, and that nerfs Brain Dead Fruits, Brain Dead Soldier Spam, Brain Dead like Skellige Reckless Flurry decks that just shit out tempo. Like, that covers all of them. Yeah, it was just like it's not a priority this season because Battle Station's like nowhere. Or rather, Nilfgaard's not very, very present. And then Lydia, I think Furcart just got power crept. And I think it would be cool to have for Nilfgaard another way to give spying than just Mage Torturers, Yoink, or Torres. Right? Again, I'm trying to enable non-Calvi gameplay as much as possible. Griffin Mentors, but it's controversial for some people. Oh, this one? The NR one? Yeah, it's unfortunate because, like, as you know, like, I run one of these in my stockpile deck because it has so many bricks. Right, my Devotion stockpile deck, I run one of these just to hand fix. Like, for when you draw that Faultless Pride or the Radovid Judgment or whatever. But I mean, you could also just nerf Priestess directly, or better yet, a card that I've long held is toxic, Roche. It was only played in Golden Necker Engine Vomit, or Militility, sorry, not Militility, or Priestess decks, and it's so that you can put 2 engines on the board before they can be answered and shit out 60 points in one turn. And I don't think that's ever healthy for the game. So many people gave me shit about this. They were like, you just hate NR. And I was like, no, I just don't like Priestess Onager coming out on the same round and playing for 60 points. Especially in like the Rent-Free deck with the lowest provision. But now, for whatever reason, this season I'm not seeing any of it. So it's not high on my list. But it's like, I would rather, like, to me, either Priestess should go to 5p or this should go to 10p. And that would have the advantage of removing it from those Golden Necker and our decks that play like all 25 cards. Hold on, let me close this. You see playing your Militility season? Oh, really? Wow. Can anybody link me the competitive Militility deck? I feel like I have the wrong one. I would like to like practice it a bit. Sure, Roaring. I'll look at it after. While Gabane's here, I just want to get his thoughts on some of my other stuff that he might not have seen. So, what do you think about Etriol Merlega? I can't for sure. Yeah. Well, I guess let me show you. So, sort of, but it's an elf and a beast. I'm trying to give Harmony some control that isn't Simless Shiro. Heatwave, Igni, whatever. It's an elf and a beast, and then Heist could replay them. And to me, Heist replaying those medium provision golds is like a lot less binary than replaying Vanadane and Angus. Because Vanadane and Angus, it's like if they replay it, they can win the game. But if they replay Etriol Merlega, they just win the round. They can't fit them all. Because they're 6 provisions, that's why I'm targeting with a power buff, not a provision buff. They won't be able to fit them. Like, they only have room for like 2 5Ps in that Elves deck. In the Heist decks. And so Etriol Merlega, like, I wanted to run these in my movement deck. I had a movement Harmony deck where these would like be super sweet. Even without Heist. And it's like cards we don't see. The biggest problem with these is that, like, yes, if you land the combo, they work well. They get value. But if you ever don't get the combo, they just feel like shit. So I wanted to increase their floor. Was the idea there. But here, before I do that, this is the military deck that I have. Like AA, Radovid, Drakenborg, Snowdrop, Necromancy. Is this the kind of deck you're running into? Or is it different than this? No AA? Okay. All right, and then Duncan L. Guardian. Do you want to hop on Discord, by the way? Or maybe you're just in debt or whatever, or just tired. I'd understand. But I don't want to. If you prefer to talk rather than type, you're welcome to hop on Discord. I can call you. Okay. This guy, like, you had Roche. Okay. Like, I think there's some problematic cards in Symbiosis. Symbiosis is too, like, brain dead uninteractive. Aquan lived, I win the round. I play Tempest. Okay. 5 minutes? Okay. Sure. Let me just call you real quick.
Yo.
Hey, big man Gabane. How's it going?
Yo. Can you hear me?
Yes. Chat, can you guys hear Gabane as well?
Bro. Hey. Okay, good. Good evening, chat. Or whatever time of the day it is.
Yes. So, I don't think we ever talked about Symbiosis.
If it's fine by you, I will...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's a difficult one. But just before we go about it, if it's fine by you, I will keep the same rating I used for my video, like good, bad, or like useless, pretty much.
Yep, that sounds
and
good
by
to me.
useless, it's not an offense. It just means that I believe it doesn't make the game
It's not impactful
better
enough.
or worse.
Or
yeah, basically. Or it can be impactful in like not necessarily good way, I guess.
Gotcha.
Like it doesn't offer more options. At Symbiosis, I don't know if it's a problem. I personally dislike playing against it, but I don't know if I hate it. Like, the problem is it's very coin dependent. You queue into it from blue coin. They have Aquan and all their bullshit, and it sucks. But you do the same. But if you win round one, if you have like your own tempo stuff and they go long, they get destroyed. I don't know how I feel. It might be slightly too strong. Honestly, it might be slightly too strong.
Yeah. For me, the biggest issue is I feel like I have to kill Aquan. I have to kill fledglings. If they have a seer, I have to kill that. If I don't kill Aquan, they get round control, and then they bleed, and then they play Simless, either as part of the bleed or in round 3, and then they have good short round. Like, it's just
well, the thing is that their bleed is not that good. Actually, I found out. Like, they're not that good at bleeding, and Seamless is not that good as a solo round 3 finisher. Yeah, I usually don't. If I cannot kill Aquan and maintain a good tempo, like if I play, I don't know, if I play, for example, my Nilfgaard deck, which is pretty tempo heavy, I do not give up round control. But if I do so, if I play against it with like, I don't know, Syndicate or Warriors or something, I don't care. I just defend my the bleed, and usually they're not that good at bleeding. Actually, like, their bleed is not that efficient.
Yeah.
And when I tried the deck, I had exactly the same issue where I would win round 1 and then my bleed was kind of shit. And in short round 3, I would still lose by being 1 card down.
Yeah. But
I agree, it's a frustrating deck.
Yeah, it's some of the.
If you want my opinion,
go ahead.
Like Aquan, good nerf. Spring Equinox independently. Good nerf, but together bad. Like, I would only nerf Aquan. I would not nerf Equinox as well.
If you had to pick one of those two.
And arguably, I would give her 1 less power. Definitely Aquan. Definitely Aquan is a bigger problem.
Okay, because she's just like too many points if left alone, and if answered.
Yeah, she's answer or lose, which is like one of the worst things in the game, in my opinion.
What about Simless? -1 power.
So, Simless, good nerf.
Dana -1 power. It would only be the first form.
I would wait. What Seamless only? You mean Dana? You mean Dana?
Dana -1 would be only first form.
Yeah. Good nerf for sure.
Okay. And then what about these harmony buffs?
The thing is, Dana is not a problem right now.
It's not just a problem.
Hawk. No, Owl is crazy. You cannot buff Owl. Everything else is good. Buffing Owl is crazy. Owl is like auto-include in any Harmony deck. You cannot buff a card that's auto-include.
No. This Owl is auto-include.
Owl is like one of the
No,
strongest...
I'm talking this one. Trained Hawk.
Harmony deck.
Oh, you're talking the 8 provision one.
Yeah, Trained Hawk is good.
Oh, okay. So...
Yeah, I'm talking about... Trained Hawk is a good buff.
Yeah, so I'll explain this one because...
I mean, like the... Yeah, this one.
It was unconventional. Yes, it is literally in every Harmony deck. So technically, by making it one less provision, I'm not affecting the play rate. I'm basically giving all Harmony decks one provision.
I would argue that it's not just in all Harmony decks. I would argue it's maybe the second or third strongest card in those decks. So I really don't like, if we want to buff Harmony, like I would rather even buff Scenario than Owl. I think Owl...
Well, I want non-scenario Harmony to be playable.
Decks.
Or like hybrid Harmony to be playable. Where...
Nah, that's not gonna happen. Scenario is too good.
Okay.
Scenario is just too good. Like,
that's the idea there.
It's the best scenario. In its archetype, it's the best scenario. Like in its personal archetype, it's just the best. If you run like 10 different tribes, there's already no reason to not include the archetype. It will play just for 10 points, and even if you removed it, will give you 10 points, and if not removed, it will give you like 40 points. It's like the best scenario in the game right now. So
yeah.
I don't think there's any way someone will. Maybe Golden Egg or Harmony or something. Like,
that's the thing I had in mind. Was
not play it.
I have a deck that already plays like 7 tags because it's like for movement, and giving it more engines that get value if not answered, like Popco and the Gnome, or the Hawk, which has movement and Harmony.
Popco is good. Hawk is good. Both are good. I like both of those. Yeah. But Owl is like one of the strongest Harmony cards that is already in every Harmony deck. So I think it's like crazy to buff it. The other two are perfectly good.
So again, if you had to buff Harmony some other way, what would
be good buffs?
What would you touch?
If I had to buff Harmony, I would not buff Harmony.
Okay.
I don't think Harmony is that good of an archetype. But if I were to buff something, I would buff what's his name, Beckenbauer. He's a mid-range card, kinda, but he also kind of requires a setup, kind of a fun card deck. I don't know, but I wouldn't buff him either. It's just
Yeah, he's already at like 13 for 8.
Buff Harmony.
Right? It just seemed like.
If I had.
Yeah.
To buff Harmony, it would be him, but like I wouldn't buff him either. Gale, good buff. Sheetroll, probably, I would say useless buff. I think she's unplayable at 8,
she needs more than 1 buff,
and arguably 6.
What if she was 8 provisions and 5 power?
Still unplayable in my opinion, except for the problem is if she's playable in like some cheese decks, right? Like you will not consider her for healthy decks, like.
So if you play Haunt,
if you
right?
do consider her in healthy decks,
you end up with two orders on the board that consume, and you could drop her and consume twice.
So
yeah,
I was about to address that. If you make her good enough to be played in that kind of deck where she's healthy, then instead of people playing her in healthy decks, they will just take her and play her in unhealthy decks where she will be oppressive. And sure, she will be strong enough to be in healthy decks, but she will be overpowered in non-healthy decks. Do that make sense?
Yeah, but aren't those unhealthy decks already getting nerfed with like Sabbath and Defender nerfs?
I would argue depends.
Like if somebody plays this with Glusty Warp, like good for them. It took setup.
You give Sheetroll 2 buffs, 3 buffs. Yeah, with Glusty, no, I don't think she's that dangerous. Even in abuse decks, I don't think she's super dangerous. So I don't. Right now, I would put her at useless because I think at 8 provisions she's still unplayable. At 8 provisions, 5 power, she's barely playable.
Yeah, it's why I haven't voted for her yet.
At 7 provisions, 5 power, she's dangerous.
It just offends me that she's basically a Ran warrior that's roll limited and doesn't have armor.
Yeah, it's fair. That's fair. Plumbered, I would say, is good. Like, not something I would do, but between good and useless, I would say.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Bloodlust, obviously, I have it in my list. It's good. Kikimora Worker, I actually think it's good. It's the one that needs the row to be full, right? Wait, what? You're nerfing it?
No, this isn't the one that needs the row. This is the 4 provision bronze. It was so that Sabbath doesn't pull it out.
So to make for Sabbath, yeah.
I don't like spoiler RNG.
That's fair, but I kind of like the skill testing aspect. I played actually. You might be surprised, but I played a decent amount of the RKS Sabbath deck. I wasn't particularly good at it, but I played a decent amount of it. And actually, when you said in the video that it's not brain dead, I fully agree. I never said it's brain dead. I said I would not buff cheese or brain dead decks. That
but like the nerf to Sabbath killed that deck, which wasn't a brain dead deck.
Which is a good thing. It wasn't a brain dead deck, but it was still an unhealthy deck in my opinion.
Okay.
So I didn't mind that honestly.
Okay.
But my point was that cheese does not mean brain dead. Like then we have.
You were thinking of this guy, Armored Arakas?
Nature. Yeah.
This card, you have to make it 7 provisions, and then you have to make Penitent like 6 provisions, so that Penitent Consume can pull it.
Yeah.
Without locking it, and then it's playable maybe. So it's like.
Yeah, it's kind of cute. I don't love nor hate it. Force of Nature for me goes into the bad category because I'm strictly against buffing anything that already sees play, and Force of Nature already sees play in a pretty decent amount.
Well, once Regis gets nerfed, the only reason Force of Nature gets played is because Lirio's Regis deck.
True.
And let me just explain my.
Funnily enough,
Yeah,
Monsters is the one that right now has all leader abilities to be playable. It's the only faction that has all its leader.
Well, because they're all segregated. Like you can't play vampires without this. You can't play Deathwitch without this, right? They're so.
Yeah. Okay. Vampires do not play, to be fair.
Yeah. And my problem with Force of Nature is that literally it's worse than Carapace. This is 9 points and 3 Veils. This is just 9 points. Sure, it procs Thrive.
That's a good point.
It's like, so I don't know if you want to nerf this or boost this, but like.
That's the case for. I'd argue Carapace is too strong, but it's also not a problem right now, so.
Yeah, like I'm fine with either nerfing this or boosting this, but to me, like, if you compare this with other 15 provision leaders, like, this is not on the same scale as this, you know, or this, or that. Like, I don't know, just independently looking at them. And I know that.
Well,
just independently looking at them. I know that. Yeah.
Depends on which you take, I guess. But I see it, but again, it's his play, right?
Yeah.
It's his play right now, so it is a decent amount of competitive play as well. Like it's a good deck, so I wouldn't buff any good decks. Protoflader, a good buff probably. Not something I would go.
Vampires don't have anything at 8 provisions. That's why they play Riptide and Toad. There's nothing. There's nothing at 8 or 7 that vampires can play.
Any day of the week, you put Riptide at 9 power and 9 provisions over Protoflatter.
Depends.
It's just so good. Like
I ended up cutting Riptide for my Vamps deck because
like opponent plays Tier, you're playing a deck with no control.
And sometimes you need to be able to answer a card, and when it's that one, like when in Vampires, because Riptide was like your only answer, people would just play around it by having something bigger, and then your Riptide is useless. Whereas Toad, you can bleed something down and then eat it.
But it's not always possible.
Well, I mean, Syndicate can do it.
I also heard you say people don't play Toad anymore, but Toad is still pretty solid and is playing a decent amount of decks.
Yeah, it just
many decks.
It used to be in literally every deck, and then Riptide was in literally every deck, and Toad was in like half the decks.
And will still be.
Yeah, I'm not trying to buff Toad.
Except for Tatterwing, Riptide will be in every deck, even at 9p. Even Laris, I think, goes into the useless category. I don't see any reason to put him in the deck, even if it was like 6 provisions.
Really?
Unless I'm missing something.
So, like, you can Imlerith a Griffin without having to play Fruits, and then Mamuna it. You can Imlerith a Morvad and Ozral in the same round, because your opponent isn't going to keep a Squirrel.
That's pretty old school, yeah.
Yeah. Same with like Ozral against Yenvo.
That combo used to see play. It's probably 2 over power crept right now. Like
that's all it is.
Okay,
yeah.
I might be capping when I say it won't play at 6 provisions, but at 8 it will still.
Compare it to Knickers, right? Knickers is like a brickable card that pops out the deck for 3 tempo and at 8 provisions. This is consumes a thing and draws a card, but you can like set it up with Naglfar or you can set it up with Fisher King, so you guarantee.
Yes, but it's. Yes, but it also requires you to have a specific hand. It also is vulnerable to spores, and it also can be a terrible top deck in later short rounds. So it's much more risky than Knickers.
For sure. So it would. You're saying it definitely wouldn't be a bad buff. It just might not be enough.
It's terrible. Yeah, definitely.
There are certain it's not a. It wouldn't fit in most decks, but there are certain decks that run it, and it actually helps their short round quite a bit. Just in terms of tempo. Anyway.
Well, yeah, but I think it's still too weak. Like my category would Naglfar, I'd say is good. I think Naglfar is a good buff. Again, not something I on my radar, but good buff. Not useless and not bad for sure.
To me, Naglfar is the same as Isengrim's Council, not a Royal Decree or Call of the Forest. So that's why I'm saying it should be.
Yeah, fair.
And it would be a buff to Frost, which
I agree. Yeah, which I want.
Yeah. Okay.
So I agree.
That's all I have.
Naglfar is a good buff. And also something I realized, when I watched your video, when I talked with Nick, it's impossible to me and Nick basically hate the same decks. We love almost always the same decks, except for a few exceptions. We disagree on all our counter points. It's impossible to find a way to, right now, what I'm trying to do is to mitigate the really bad calls. The only time I will talk with someone is if I believe something is a huge problem. So when I talked with Nick, I told him I think dogs are a problem. He said no. And I stopped at that. I didn't insist because I don't think dogs are a huge problem. I think they're a net negative, but I don't think they're a huge problem. As opposed to... by the way, I also don't think Sabbath's buff is a huge problem. I went hard on you because I hate the card, but...
Yeah.
Sorry. But I don't think per se, if you do make it happen, I will not
just followed.
I will be fuming if Dozen nerfs goes through, for example.
Nerfs what? Sorry? What's he trying to nerf?
Yeah, sorry, I have I don't know why I cannot speak.
Oh, no.
But Dozen is trying to nerf NR again.
Oh, yeah. I saw... He's a joke command in my chat now.
Yeah, that's completely fair. That's completely fair.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm trying to take it way less seriously, but I'm also trying to be careful myself. That's why I think I'm very happy I did a first draft. I'm very, very happy. I think that was the best thing I did, doing a middle council video before doing the final one, because
you get feedback.
Seeing some comments on my video, for example, exactly. And I will not be nerfing Shiru, for example. I'm seriously considering not buffing Vilgefortz, even though I really want to play Vilgefortz in a simulate.
Yeah.
But the points that were made were good, so I'm considering it now.
Yeah, that's what these should be.
So I think that was the best thing.
When I see end of season stuff come out of nowhere, and then I see 10 out of 12 of them go through, I'm like, what the fuck? Whereas I release 2 or 3 times on the season. I post on Twitter. I ask for feedback. I ask people to tell me I'm wrong, so I can fix it. And then in chat we had votes. People did rankings. I published the results of what people voted for. I don't know. I wish there was more of that across languages. I guess. I don't know.
Well, as a closing note, if you want to final ultimate feedback, if you were to listen to only one thing I say out of all the things I said is we can consider nerfing the SI sinning at a later point, not now. Basically, that's what I would say, because right now they're actually genuinely interesting. They're actually genuinely interesting for the game. Even the
don't you think this at 5/5 would be better?
As stupid as it is right now, it's kind of interesting. Only after we nerf Madame. Right now, no, because right now there's a very serious cost to running them. Unlike other tutors, if it were any other meta where Madame was not in the meta, or if Golden Necker, for example, was the dominant SI deck, I would agree. But in a meta where so many fucking... if I show you my SI deck, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5...
Yeah, that's why I stopped playing that version.
Those 2 bricks are an actual risk you're running. Well, I'm having good results with it, but... yeah, the general point is there is an actual cost to running them, and the cost is still worth it. It's worth running them, but it's fair. I feel like fair. Like in any other faction, it would not be fair. But in a faction that inherently is forced to play 3 bricks, adding 2 more is actually kind of fair.
I mean,
and as a closing statement,
Yeah.
I will add only clowns mulligan clowns,
yeah, we say that when we mulligan them.
as I've said multiple times.
Yeah. I played
Yeah,
brick
exactly.
brick heavy decks, and but I do them even though they're 5p. Like it's the
Fair
cost you pay
enough,
for consistency, and to me that should be the trade-off between playing like that version or something like this, which is also equally
honestly-
strong. Not equally, but like this is very strong. Like I had other good players
I
play
honestly
this
think
version,
those nerf, like,
and they said that they had good results with
the
it.
reason I'm asking is because I feel like those nerfs will go through. I feel like those nerfs will actively make the game worse.
You think so?
Like I think right now, if you nerf the SI sinning cards, the game actively becomes worse because SI is on the SI right now is either high tier 3 or low tier 2. Like SI is not okay. Maybe I'm exaggerating.
Yes.
It's
A little bit.
Mid tier 2 or
Well, what's tier
low
1?
Tier 2. It's either mid tier 2 or low tier 2. That's the thing. There's no dominant decks right now, which is why I really like current meta. If I were to like point at a tier 1 deck, it would probably be like Symbiosis, maybe Death Wish, maybe
Deathwish.
what else I think is pretty. Yeah, Nikar has like an 80% win rate with Death Wish.
Yeah, because he plays into a control meta, and Deathwish is always good into that.
Interestingly, I think Mushrooms might be tier 1 as well. But like barely. Not in an oppressive way. I think you can make a point that there are no tier 1 decks right now, which is why I think the meta is so good. You could make a point that there are no tier 1 decks.
To me, like I know you said you don't want Plunder being reliable. I disagree, and also I hate this card being there in Plunder. Even if you don't play bouncers, it's gonna fuck you up. And so you have to play bouncers if you want to play Plunder. It's gonna fuck you up.
I don't mind it, honestly.
Bouncers if you want to play Plunder.
Yeah, it's auto include, which is bad. I'm not arguing with it. It is bad because
So let's make it 5/5, and then it will be good and thinning.
There is a very real cost to playing it.
And not screw up Plunder.
If it's 5/5, it will not play. I think.
9 tempo and 1 thinning for 6 provisions. You don't think that was?
Well, the thing is, you increase it by 1 provision. You increase it by 2 provisions.
Yeah, I said
right?
that's why I said 9 for 6.
And even at 4 right now, it's not that good. It's not that good even at 4. That's the thing.
You don't think Tempest for
It's
4
a hard-
provisions is good?
It's a hard case.
Come on.
No, I don't actually. I don't think bouncers are that good. Again, in the deck that has 5 bricks already. In a vacuum, they are good. In a deck that has 5 provisions, it's not.
Okay.
I mean 5 bricks. It's
Yeah,
not.
I think we've discussed that
I
one
mean-
to death, both in your video and mine at this
Yeah.
point. So that's the one you feel
Yeah.
the most strongly about. Okay, I'll check in again with you towards the end of the season, see if.
Not like. Just to reiterate what I'm trying to say, I think in a vacuum it's correct. They should be 5/5 and 3/3. I think it's correct. But I think in current meta's context, they're fine where they are.
But the
Like,
current
in a
meta
vacuum,
will
yes,
not stay
they
this
should be
way
5/5 and 3/3.
next season, and so
Well, it might. I'm hoping it might, or it might become better. I don't see any
Control the
decks
docks,
becoming too
control the
oppressive next
city.
season unless there are some royal fuck-ups.
yeah, give it a couple of weeks. We'll see.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, I'll check in with you
Yeah,
again
it's
before the end of the season.
Well, we can always talk about it more. Yeah, by the
Yeah.
end of.
I mulligan the clown.
So
You're welcome.
Anyways, always a pleasure talking with you. my
Yeah,
friend.
you as well. Cheers.
Yeah, only clowns, mulligan clowns. Have a nice end of the stream, my friend.
Thank you.
See you
thank you.
later.